And back to our top story, one of our Fox top stories. President Trump is moving away from Obamacare repeal efforts for the time being, saying voters will have to wait until after the 2020 elections to see how the GOP plans to replace the Affordable Care Act. This after some congressional Republicans signaled an unwillingness to reignite the health care debate before next November. Joining me now, Republican Congressman Chip Roy of Texas, who sits on the House Oversight and Budget Committees. Good to see you today.
Good to see you, Harris. How are you?
Fantastic. Is this good news for Republicans that there will be this delay until after the election in 2020?
Well, I think what's good news to the American people is that the state of Texas and 19 other states are continuing to challenge Obamacare in the courts. I was proud of my former colleagues in the Texas Attorney General's office and the Texas Public Policy Foundation for taking this litigation forward. Obamacare is problematic. It's driving up premiums. It's increasing costs. It's pushing people off of their health care. When President Obama said that you couldn't keep your, that you'd be able to keep your doctor, it was a lie. People lost their coverage. They lost their doctors. I think Republicans ought to go on offense. I think Republicans ought to own health care. We ought to get out in front of the American people and say you can have the best health care in the world if you get government out of the way, instead of allowing the Democrats to do what they're going to do this week, which is have a sham resolution, which is going against the president because the president was right to stand up and defend those states and not defend Obamacare.
Well, that's interesting. So that sounds like an urgent matter. Can it wait until 2020?
Well, I think nobody's health care should wait. I think we should all be working hard to improve health care. The problem is you've got a recalcitrant Democrat Congress that refuses to actually take action to drive down people's premiums. I think that we ought to be doing that immediately. I think the president agrees with that. I think what the president is recognizing is that the House Democrats have no interest in actually working with us to solve any problems at the border or in the people's homes and with their doctors. So I would suggest that we should move quickly. This Congress should take action, but Speaker Pelosi is the one who needs to do that. Instead, she's playing games by putting resolutions on the floor of the House while millions of people flood across our border and millions of Americans don't have affordable health care.
I want to hear now from Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat from Virginia, on this very issue.
From the very first day in office, his main goal has been to get rid of Obamacare, primarily because of his insecurity about President Obama. He just wants to get rid of it. They'll get rid of it with no plan in place. They still don't have a plan. After so many years, they still don't have a plan. But the action that they're taking in court would strip health insurance away from millions.
Congressman Roy, is that fair? I mean, the president, just as recently as last week, was talking about finding ways to keep pre-existing conditions. He was pressuring Republicans to come up with a plan.
Well, you notice what Senator Kaine didn't do. He didn't offer a Democrat proposal, because what Democrats are going to put forward is Medicare for all. They don't defend Obamacare, and they put forward a bill that's going to cost us $30 or $40 trillion and take away people's existing health care coverage. So I think we've got plans. We know we want to make sure that people can go have access to their doctors, direct primary care. We can make sure people have health savings accounts. We can make sure that they have health sharing ministries and health sharing organizations, portable insurance. We can make sure people can keep their insurance from one job to the next. All of that is possible if we just get busy doing the work of governing and making sure that we do our job. But the Democrats on the other side of the aisle don't want to do that. They want to keep this as an issue, and they want to scare Americans into believing that they're going to lose their insurance, which is not true. It's a lie.
Well, of course they want to keep the issue because, by their estimations, that helped them win in the midterms last November. So I get the politics at play here. But what I think I hear you saying is that you're willing to work with what's there right now to fix it. Am I understanding that correctly?
No, I think Obamacare should be scrapped in its entirety. I think we should go back and create a system that is built upon market principles to drive down the cost of health care so people can go get access to the doctor of their choice, have insurance and coverage before they lose it. Democrats want to come in on the back end and say, oh, we're going to create a system where you lose your insurance, we're going to take away what you had, and then create a system that's broken. I think we ought to fix it on the front end so nobody ever loses their insurance. It's all built on a fabrication to scare the American people. When 90+% of the American people have insurance through Medicare, Medicaid, their employer-provided health care, or in the individual market. If you got Obamacare out of the way, the American people would immediately have affordable health care insurance in a way that they don't with Obamacare in the way now.
Real quickly before I let you go, the president has a way of getting people to come together on these really big issues. Do you think he's done that with health care? You know, he said, come up with an answer. He's looking to Congress, which I often say, and you know, it seems like Congress has a really hard time getting things done.
Well, the framers also gave us a system where we're not supposed to move things quickly. That's okay. But what we need is an actual conversation on the floor of the House instead of playing politics like the Democrats want to do. The president is exactly right to raise this issue up. He's exactly right to stand with the states who are challenging this litigation, which is flawed. Obamacare is a flawed piece of policy. And we ought to make sure that we come together to stand up for patients, stand up for the American people so they can afford health care, instead of playing politics and scaring them about losing coverage when nothing can be further from the truth.
Congressman Chip Roy of the great state of Texas, thank you for being with me on the program.
Thank you, Harris.